Hey everybody, welcome back to Bethanaeum. I'm Ellie Marie. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some of my personal writing habits, so stick around, we're going to have a lot of fun. So today we're going to talk a little bit about my personal creative process, which is my writing process, because that's my primary creative outlet. And so we're going to touch a little bit on what some of my habits are and some of the things that I do to really encourage my writing and to push through writing. So the first thing I want to talk about are the three primary things that I write regularly. Now, outside of my work, I'm a technical writer by trade. There are three primary things that I write regularly. The first one is for my blog, which if you are watching this, you are more than welcome to visit my blog, which I have linked below. It's at the website bethanaeum.com. And you can look at all of my blog posts there. A lot of them are the same content as what you get in my vlogs. It's just kind of a way to reiterate what is being talked about, what is being touched on. And some people don't learn from video, and some people don't learn from reading. And so I kind of try to provide the content in multiple ways so that people can learn as much as they can, because that is my goal here with Bethanaeum, is to share my love of literature and reading and writing with you guys. So that's the first one. The second one is, don't laugh at me, it's kind of dorky, fan fiction. At first this seems very 13-year-old girlish, and it kind of is sometimes, and it kind of can just be that, like, let's have fun. But I have found that as building up your writing skills, fan fiction is wonderful. It's a great place to start because you can focus on the things that you need to practice on or the things that you want to get better at without having to worry about everything else that comes with writing a story. So like if you need to focus on writing characters because your characters tend to be a little flat while your plot and world building is just like wonderful, then you can just pull on a world and a plot that already exists, maybe even a couple of characters that already exist, and develop some original characters to interact with those characters. And it allows you to practice those aspects of writing that maybe you struggle with a little bit without having to worry about developing all of the other content. It also allows you to do it in an environment that's safe, because fan fiction generally is not something anyone plans on ever getting published or plans on presenting to the public in a way other than to other people who enjoy that particular kind of fan fiction. So for me, it provides a place to practice. It provides a safe place to practice where I don't have to focus on all of the elements of a story, just the ones that I need to work on. So the third thing in this particular section that we're going to be touching on that I try to write regularly is poetry. Now I know everybody, you say poetry and everybody goes, oh, unless you're into poetry, generally poetry is a turnoff for a lot of people. But one thing that a lot of people are into is music, and music is poetry, especially if it is well-written lyrics that have really heavy weight behind them in some capacity. Lyrics are poetry, and I think a lot of people forget that, because when you say poetry, people think of Old English poetry or French poetry that's hard to read and that's heavy and difficult to digest if you don't know how. But poetry, in all actuality, is one of the best things someone learning to write can work on, that they can do, because it can be very free form. People, when they hear poetry, they tend to think of, something that has a certain rhyme or a certain meter or a certain, it has structure and it has rules, but that's not the case. Poetry can be whatever you want. You can write a poem about recording videos. You can write a poem about anything, and it doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to follow a structure. It doesn't have to do anything. You can just sit down and just whatever comes out of your head, and that's a poem. If you think you are writing a poem, you are writing a poem, because that's how poetry is. Poetry is a good thing to practice because it allows you just to get into that headspace of writing, of taking what's in your head and putting it on paper, whether or not it's good. So I have a notebook that I try to just kind of doodle or poetry in for about 10-15 minutes a day. It's nothing big. It's nothing crazy. I just try to write something down. And if it's just 5 words, I'm happy with it. All right, so the second part that I want to talk about is how I build these habits and these things that I work on and that I do into my daily life. And I touched a little bit on this at the live video on my Facebook page, which if you are not following, you are more than welcome to. I do have a link to that below, so feel free to get on there. I'm live every Wednesday at 7:30 Central Standard Time, and you can get on and you can ask questions and you can interact with me a little bit, and I will talk a little bit about the 2 topics I have for that week. And so that's a lot of fun. But anyway, I touched a little bit on this briefly, and I'm going to go ahead and show you. I use what's called calendar blocking, and I learned this from a wonderful YouTuber named Amy Landino. If you're not following her and you don't know about her, you should. You should know about her because she is amazing and I love her. So this is just to give you an idea of kind of what calendar blocking looks like. It looks insane. It's really not. It basically is where I use Google Calendar, but you can use whatever calendar works best for you. And you go in and you map out your day. Now, it doesn't have to be super rigid. I'm not super rigid with my calendar, and so I'm kind of sloppy and I don't always stay where I'm supposed to be. But it helps me plan things. It helps me say, okay, this time in the morning is for writing. And then in there I will put whatever it is I need to be working on. So because I post 2 blog posts a week on my blog on the website, I do have special times on certain days, which just so happens to be Tuesdays and Fridays, that I write for my blog specifically. And then on Mondays and Thursdays, I work on vlog work, which is for you guys here on YouTube. I have those times structured for when I work on my blog stuff, and that was the first of the 3 things that I do outside of work. Because again, work is every day, so I write technical writing every day. That's a given. So the next one is my fan fiction. I have a block of time every Wednesday morning for an hour and a half that is specifically for writing whatever I want. Now, I don't always write fan fiction, although that is primarily what I write during that time, just because I have some series that I'm working on and that people want updates for. And so I work on those during that time. I can work on original fiction during that time if I want, but it is a special time that I set aside once a week for me to write on whatever I want to write on. There's no rules, there's no regulations. I just work on whatever I want to work on. And so that's generally where I fit in my fan fiction time. I do have some time in the evenings that I have set aside as free time, and that's for me to do just whatever I want. I usually end up watching TV or playing a video game, if I'm honest. Although I have written occasionally in that time because it's just what I want to do. My free time then is for me to decide in that moment what I want to do, and sometimes it is writing. The last one, the poetry, I do that either in the morning, right when I wake up, or right before bed. Usually it's right before bed. Sometimes if I have like a notebook with me and I just have something that hits me while I'm out during the day, I'll scribble it down and I'll count that. But I try really hard to kind of do it right before bed, just a little bit to get some notes down. I used to journal right before bed, but I don't really have that time so much to sit down and journal everything. But I found that doing my little bit of poetry or my little bit of just brief writing before I go to bed allows me to have a clear headspace for laying down and going to sleep for the night. I'm not laying there thinking about all these other things because I can write that down in my notebook. So that's really what I do, and that is my writing habit. My biggest writing habit is just that. It's the habit. It's working it into my daily life so that I'm doing a little bit of writing every day. And that is what will improve you as a writer. That's what will, if you're a new writer and you're not really used to writing, that's what will help you find what you like to write, is putting it in just a little bit every day, even if it's just 10-15 minutes every day. Just writing a little bit, even if it's just a couple sentences about what you did, or, a 5-line poetry poem, 5-line poem. Like that's fine. That's writing, and that's getting there, and that's working on it, and that's honing a craft that if you're here, hopefully you are interested in. So those are my personal writing habits. It's not crazy, nothing insane. I just have some particular things that I write about, my blog, my fan fiction, and my poetry. And I have certain times during the week set aside to work on those so that I know to focus on those at that time, and I'm making time for it. I'm making it a priority. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have habits, your creative process habits that I did not mention here that you would like to share, please, please, please comment them below. I'm always looking for new habits to incorporate into my creative routine. I just recently, really recently started doing the calendar blocking and doing that all the time. So I'm so into new stuff. If you have something new that I could try during that time that I have allotted, please share it with me. And I'm sure the other people that watch these would love to hear from you as well. And I want to give a special shout out to CloudZombie88, who's officially the first person to comment on one of my YouTube videos. Thank you so much for subscribing and for watching and commenting. I appreciate it, and I hope that you continue to enjoy my videos. And on that note, if you are not subscribed and you enjoyed this content today, please hit that subscribe button and ring that bell, and you'll get notifications when I put up new uploads, which is every Tuesday and Friday. And currently we are in our NaNoWriMo series. So if you are interested in writing a novel, this is the series for you. I will be breaking everything I'll be doing down, and I hope to see you out there and around. Bye.